I've covered the history and evolution of 3 children's television networks on my channel, but now I've decided to do one meant for an older audience. Hey, I'm Laura Youngblood, and welcome to From Laura's Perspective. At least once a week, I post a new video essay on a different topic that interests me and many others. Sometimes it's on television, like today's. Sometimes it's about a social issue, like my last one. Sometimes it's about music and the music industry, like my next 2. And other times it's about food, drink, history, current events, movies, art, nature, or something else. So if you want a video essay channel with that kind of versatility, then mine's the one to subscribe to. MTV started out as a channel dedicated to promoting music and airing music videos, but that purpose has surely shifted over the years. So let's get into how this channel started and the content it's aired over time. On August 1st, 1981, Music Television, or MTV, was launched with the words, "Ladies and gentlemen, rock and roll," spoken by John Lack and played over footage of the first space shuttle launch countdown of Columbia and the launch of Apollo 11. This was followed by the original MTV theme song, a rock and roll tune composed by Jonathan Elias and John Peterson, playing over the American flag, changing to show MTV's logo changing into different textures, colors, and designs. MTV was designed to show music of popular artists of the day as a way to help them to promote their music, a trend that started with the Beatles in the 1960s. The channel was given its name by its first program director, Steve Casey, and was founded by Tom Freston, Fred Sieber, and John Sykes. Carolyn Baker served as the original head of talent and acquisition. Marshall Cohen was head of research. Sue Steinberg was executive producer, and Kenneth M. Miller is credited as MTV's first technical director. The first music video ever aired on MTV was that of "Video Killed the Radio Star" by the Buggles, which was only available to homes in New Jersey. This was actually quite fitting for a channel dedicated to showing music in an era where the music video was becoming an increasingly popular promotional tool for musicians. Although MTV targeted an audience between the ages of 12 and 34, its self-conducted research showed that over 50% of its audience was between the ages of 12 and 24, and that this group watched for an average of 30 minutes to 2 hours a day. The best way to describe MTV in its early days would be to call it a televised version of the album-oriented rock, or AOR, radio. By 1984, however, it would look more like a televised version of Top 40 radio. MTV programming and videos were hosted and introduced by VJs, or video jockeys, the equivalent of a DJ, or disc jockey, on the radio. There are mixed opinions about it today, but MTV hired VJs in the 1980s that fit different personality types they felt would entertain audiences. For example, Mark Goodman was the affable everyman, Alan Hunter was the athlete or jock, JJ Jackson was that hipster DJ on the radio, and Martha Quinn was supposed to be the innocent girl next door VJ. VJs recorded intro and outro voiceovers before broadcast, along with music news, interviews, concert dates, and promotions. These segments appeared to air live and debut on MTV 24/7, but they were pre-taped within a regular work week at MTV's studios. In the 1980s, MTV featured music videos from a wide variety of artists, some of whom are still well known today, ranging in genre from new wave to soft rock and heavy metal, such as Adam Ant, Bryan Adams, Pat Benatar, Blondie, Def Leppard, Duran Duran, Eurythmics, Genesis, Billy Idol, Billy Joel, John Mellencamp, Motley Crue, The Police, Prince, U2, and Van Halen. By 1984, MTV and the videos it aired had become so popular that Billboard magazine published a section of top videos for MTV in each of a series of playlists, which rotated with each issue of Billboard. Initially, this consisted of 3 categories: light, medium, and heavy. But in November 1984, MTV had made the music video such a popular medium that the influx of videos to MTV required that it expand its Billboard list. This new expanded list would consist of the following categories: new, light, breakout, medium, active, heavy, and power. In 1985, MTV spearheaded a safe sex initiative in response to the AIDS epidemic, when it was perceived that many teens might be more receptive to that message than from hearing it from their parents or teachers. Its safe sex campaign continues today as It's Your Sex Life. MTV's single most notable watched event of the year is the famous and infamous Video Music Awards, or VMAs. I won't be going too far into depth about the VMAs, as that would require a video of its own. The simplest way to describe the VMAs would be to call them MTV's own personal Grammy Awards. Hence its name, the VMAs honor what MTV believes to be the best music videos of each year in a variety of categories, which, again, I'd have to list in a separate video on the VMAs. The first award show, in 1984, was punctuated by a live performance by Madonna of Like a Virgin. The statuettes that are handed out at the Video Music Awards are of the MTV Moon Man, the channel's original image from its first broadcast in 1981. In addition to the VMAs, MTV has hosted the annual Movies and TV Awards, MTV's very own Emmy and Oscars, since 1992. Every New Year's Eve from 1981 to 2014, MTV hosted a New Year's Eve special. Carrying various formats and branding, the specials were typically broadcast from MTV's One Astor Plaza studios in Times Square, not far away from the channel's home base, and featured concert performances and coverage of the nearby ball drop at midnight. During the late 1990s, 2000s, and part of the early 2010s, the special was heavily promoted and featured top musical acts and celebrities. As the popularity of the specials died down, the tradition finally came to a halt in 2015. Between 1995 and 2000, a 10 p.m. block for top shows and specials called the 10 Spot was created, one of the many factors contributing to a 36.5% drop in music videos played on MTV. By the time the new millennium rolled around, music videos were playing on MTV 8 hours a day, which would drop to 3 hours over the next 8 years, with these hours mostly taking place within the early morning. It's been speculated that this was a result of the rise of social media and websites like YouTube as an outlet for the promotion and viewing of music videos. Throughout the 2000s, MTV gradually expanded its programming, beyond music videos, started with programs heavily related to music, then included some lightly related to music, and eventually started to air shows that had very little to do with music, if anything at all. For example, The Osbournes, a reality show based on the everyday life of Black Sabbath frontman Ozzy Osbourne and his family, premiered in 2002 and would become one of the network's premiere shows. Some of the programming MTV started to dabble in the 2000s included adult animation, similar to what you would see on Cartoon Network's Adult Swim block. Eric Fogel's stop-motion claymated series Celebrity Deathmatch had its original run from 1998 to 2002, with a revival running from 2006 to 2007. Satirizing televised sports, Celebrity Deathmatch depicted fictionalized versions of celebrities engaging in highly stylized professional wrestling matches, hence the show's title. The series was known for its large amount of gory violence, including combatants employing different abilities and weapons to deliver particularly brutal attacks, resulting in exaggerated physical injuries. In 1998, MTV began airing a documentary series entitled True Life, which ran for 19 years, with a spin-off dedicated to quarantine during the COVID-19 pandemic, airing in 2020. The show was created by following a series of subjects by a camera crew through certain parts of their lives. Said topics include, but aren't limited to, drug use, poverty, sex, crime, romance, and friend problems. Near the end of the decade, MTV began airing a documentary reality series on the subject of teen pregnancy entitled 16 and Pregnant. It followed the stories of pregnant teenage girls in high school dealing with the hardships of becoming a young mother. Each episode featured a different teenage girl, with the episode typically beginning when she is 4.5 to 8 months into her pregnancy. The episode typically ended when the baby was a few months old. The show was so popular that it spawned 5 different spin-off series: Teen Mom 2, Teen Mom 3, Teen Mom Young and Pregnant, and 16 and Recovering. The former 3 series featured girls from 16 and Pregnant, following them on their respective journeys from where they left off on their individual episodes of 16 and Pregnant. Continuing off of MTV's It's Your Sex Life initiative from back in the 80s, MTV aired a PSA about preventing teen pregnancy at the end of each episode of 16 and Pregnant. Despite this, 16 and Pregnant and its spin-offs have been widely criticized for supposedly glamorizing teen pregnancy by turning the young mothers on these shows into international celebrities that girls may want to emulate. The most popular reality show MTV started airing in 2009 was Jersey Shore. The series follows the lives of 8 housemates at a vacation home in Seaside Heights, New Jersey, on the Jersey Shore in seasons 1, 3, 5, and 6, South Beach, Florida in season 2, and Florence, Italy in season 4. The housemates include, but aren't limited to, Pauly D, JWoww, Snooki, and The Situation. As a result of its notability, Jersey Shore has been the center of great controversy for many reasons, which I'll get more into in a later section of this video. In the decade that followed, MTV would play music videos even less frequently, and as of February 2010, the music television branding was officially dropped. Alongside its unscripted slate, MTV would produce more scripted programming. The most notable example of this is probably Awkward, an American version of Skins and a reimagining of Teen Wolf. As MTV would pivot back to unscripted programming towards the end of the decade, some of these shows would be moved to other networks. One of MTV's 2010s unscripted series was I Used to Be Fat, which aired on MTV from 2010 to 2014. The show is about overweight teens striving to achieve weight loss through means of diet and exercise. Each episode follows one teenager who is paired with a motivational personal trainer who teaches them new exercise and eating habits over a few months while offering emotional support in wake of the trials and tribulations that drove them to overeat in the first place. In September 2010, just after that year's VMAs, MTV aired a new documentary series entitled World of Jenks. In each episode, American filmmaker Andrew Jenks moves in with a young stranger for a week, experiencing life from said stranger's perspective. World of Jenks' final episode aired on May 20th, 2013. From 2012 to 2015, Snooki and JWoww aired on MTV, a spin-off of Jersey Shore that could be described as a modern-day Laverne and Shirley and follows the titular Jersey Shore stars as they live in a New York firehouse throughout Snooki's pregnancy. In April 2016, then-appointed MTV president Sean Atkins announced plans to restore music programming to the channel. On April 21st, 2016, MTV announced that new Unplugged episodes would begin airing, as well as a new weekly performance series called Wonderland. On that same day, which coincided with Prince's death, MTV interrupted its usual programming to air Prince's music videos in his remembrance. In July 2017, it was announced that TRL would be returning to the network on October 2nd, 2017, but the relaunch only lasted until 2019. Throughout the 2010s, it was observed that MTV's daily schedule came to predominantly consist of film broadcasts and frequent marathons of select original programming, such as Ridiculousness, with criticism from many about the frequency of ridiculousness marathons. MTV reality series Floribama Shore, a successor to Jersey Shore, ran from 2017 to 2021. Like its predecessor, Floribama Shore documented 8 young adults who lived together during the summer on the Gulf Coast in Panama City Beach, Florida. Due to the 2020 COVID-19 pandemic, the 4th season saw a location change to Missoula, Montana, Lake Havasu City, Arizona, and Athens, Georgia. It might be in spite of the popularity of MTV and its programs, or it might be a result of it. But the channel has been widely criticized for its programming choices, handling of social issues, political correctness, sensitivity, censorship, and a perceived negative social influence on its young audience. All throughout the channel's history, there's been a lot of racial controversy when it comes to MTV. In the channel's early days, the only black artists MTV featured were Michael Jackson, Prince, Eddie Grant, Tina Turner, Donna Summer, Grace Jones, John Butcher, and Herbie Hancock. MTV refused other black artists' videos, most notably Rick James' Super Freak, because they did not fit the channel's carefully selected album-oriented rock format at the time. The exclusion enraged James, who publicly advocated for more black artists to be featured on the channel. David Bowie also questioned MTV's lack of black artists during an on-air interview with VJ Mark Goodman in 1983. MTV's original head of talent and acquisition, Carolyn Baker, who was black, questioned why the definition of music had to be so narrow, as did a few others outside the network. Years later, Baker said, "The party line at MTV was that we weren't playing black music because of the research. But the research was based on ignorance. We were young. We were cutting edge. We didn't have to be on the cutting edge of racism." Nevertheless, it was Baker who rejected Rick James' Super Freak video on the grounds that there were half-naked women in it and it was a piece of crap. As a black woman, I did not want that representing my people as the first black video on MTV. In 2005, the Parents Television Council, or PTC, released a study titled MTV Smut Peddlers, which sought to expose excessive sexual, profane, and violent content on the channel based on MTV's spring break programming from 2004. Jeanette Cadiz, an MTV network executive, called the PTC report unfair and inaccurate and quote-unquote underestimating young people's intellect and level of sophistication. While L. Brent Bozell III, then president of the PTC, stated, "The incessant sleaze on MTV presents the most compelling case yet for consumer cable choice," referring to the practice of a pay television companies to allow consumers to pay for channels a la carte. Because many of its cast members are Italian American, and MTV has casually referred to them with the ethnic slur Guido, Jersey Shore has come under fire for its depiction of Italian Americans. In fact, upon hearing this term used in promos for the series, as well as what was perceived to be a stereotypical excess of Italian flags and memorabilia of Italian culture seen in the trailers, Unico National actually made a formal request for Jersey Shore to be canceled. MTV responded by issuing a press release which stated in part, "The Italian American cast takes pride in their ethnicity. We understand that this show is not intended for every audience and depicts just one aspect of youth culture." Following the calls for the show's removal, several sponsors requested that their ads not be aired during the show, including Dell, Domino's Pizza, and American Family Insurance. Despite the loss of these advertisers, MTV did not cancel the show. Moreover, the show saw its audience increase from its premiere in 2009 and continued to place as MTV's top-rated programs during Jersey Shore's 6th season run, ending in 2012. Thank you all so much for watching. MTV really is quite the TV channel, and it's a lot different today than it was when it first launched in the 1980s. What started out as a vehicle for airing music videos eventually turned into something dedicated to reality and documentary TV, and to date seems mostly dedicated to airing reruns of ridiculousness. I was never that big of an MTV fan, but I was really into 16 and Pregnant and Teen Mom when I was in middle school. If you're an MTV fan, do you prefer the music videos, animated shows, music-related shows, reality and documentary shows, or scripted shows? Of the aforementioned, which is your favorite? Let me know in the comments down below. And check out some of the links on your screen to see more of my content. And once it captures your attention and has you enthralled, smash that subscribe button to join my video essay library.